Taylor Lee. Nice to meet you. Hi, nice to meet you. Taylor Lee, press on the picture. Hi, nice to meet you.
Okay, so you'll have 25 minutes to present. I'll let you know when you have 5 minutes, 3 minutes, or 1 minute. Then it's 10 minutes for Q&A, and I'll let you know when you have 3 minutes and 1 minute. So you may begin.
Hello, my name is Brianna McIntosh, and I am here with my colleagues Taylor, Rachel, Omar, and Monet, and we are Crest Ballet. Today we are here to present the strategy for Nissan and Renault's alliance for their zero-emission vehicles. Today we have a full agenda. Some things we'll go over are the overview, the consumer synopsis, then we will give some recommendations and wrap it up with the contingency plan. Crest Ballet objectives. Our objective is to present new solutions and strategies from 2011 to 2020 for the alliance. Now I'll go over a brief overview of the alliance. Nissan and Renault have been partnering since 1999, but decided to make it official in 2002. Because of this alliance, 13 businesses was created, one of which was a zero-emissions business. A $5 billion investment was put towards this business. This is where the Leaf was birthed. The Nissan Leaf is a 5-passenger vehicle that can go up to 100 miles per charge. It costs roughly around $33,000, but after tax credit, it dropped down to about $25,000. It was first launched in Japan in 2010. For the total global car sales, it's not just hybrids and electric vehicles, but it's also gas vehicles. The Alliance is 10% of this market. But if you direct your attention over to the total U.S. hybrid sales, Toyota dominates with 60% and Nissan is at 3%. They should look into different options, and this gives them the opportunity to push the electric market. For the Alliance financials, Nissan, it got off to a good start, but as you can see, as the years progress, their revenue decreased. But in December 2010, their revenue went back up, and the same trend shows for their total expenses. For Renault, as you can see, even though their revenue and total expenses increased and decreased alternatively, there wasn't a really big change in loss and gain of prices as the year progressed. The Alliance is facing some challenges. First is the price. There's a tax incentive that's placed on the car to drop the price down to a lower, more affordable price, but it expires after 4 years. Then there's the customer perception. Our customers are afraid that their car would break down on the road and battery power went out. And right now, there's not an alternative source to power the car. That clashes with the charging stations availability. There's not a lot of charging stations around, as you can see. If you were to drive around the corner right now, you wouldn't really see a charging station, but you would see a gas station instead. Then there's the ICE vehicle. The ICE vehicle is pushing towards making smaller, more affordable cars. If they achieve this, then it will make it more competition for the electric vehicles. Now I'll talk about the industry and competitor analysis. The government legislation is broken up into 3 categories: mandates for gas vehicles, tax incentives and rebates, and funding for manufacturers. The government is pushing to making the vehicles go less miles per gallon. As you can see in China, there's a big jump from 35 miles per gallon to 47 miles per gallon. Then there's tax incentives that is placed in the car, as I discussed in earlier slides. It drops the price down so that it's more affordable for the customers. Then manufacturers who sell the car, they're giving incentives and they're giving funding. In our analysis, we show that the new vehicle forecast is going to grow, hitting 113 million new car sales, and these are all cars. But as you can see, in 2015, we believe this is when EVs will start picking up heat, so that by 2020, precisely 11 million cars will be sold. Over the next 10 years, gas prices in the world and the U.S. will rise. The world will rise 5% and the U.S. will rise 3%. The U.S. will hit the $5 mark in gasoline prices and the world will hit the $6 mark. Many manufacturers are making electric vehicles. This is heating up the competition for electric cars. So electric cars are usually usually 2 passenger cars or their mini cars. So this will give the lines the opportunity to push different variety vehicles such as trucks, SUVs, and mid-sized cars at a lower price. Now I'll give it over to my colleague Taylor for the consumer synopsis.
Thank you, Brianna. Today, I will talk about the customer synopsis. The customer synopsis are all of us in this room and our characteristics and our traits. So the case provided us with 5 different groups, and Crest Ballet has defined what these groups mean to us. So starting with smart greens. Smart greens are generally female and have purchased a small vehicle in the past. Informed consumers are generally around the age range between 25 and 64 and are college educated. Next, moving on to active lifestylers. Active lifestylers are eager users of social media, and they are entertained with politics. And lastly, family-centered. Family-centered are generally the most complex because they have to uphold their traditional family roles. Also in the case, if you would direct your attention to these couple instances right here, the case has provided us with these instances, and based off of that, we made assumptions on which they fit into the best. The value chain. There are many key components to any successful business. So some of the key components for Crest Ballet are the partnerships, leaderships, the battery, and their production facilities. Currently, the Alliance has production facilities in Tennessee and Japan, and they have the capability of producing around 200,000 electric vehicles in these production facilities. There's expected to be a production facility in Spain and Portugal by 2012, ramping up production to around $500,000, and that's one of Mr. Golson's key goals. The electric battery. In 2007, Nissan and NEC, which is a Japanese company, created the Automotive Energy Supply Corporation. Nissan takes majority ownership in this partnership. In 2010, the battery was sold for around $16,000. That makes up half of the price of the car. So I know you don't want to be stuck on the side of the road and your battery dies and you have to pay $16,000 to replace it. So we're trying to get the cost of the battery predicted down to $360 from $360 to $440 per kilowatt hour, where it is now at $1,000 per kilowatt hour. The battery market is estimated to reach about $25 billion by 2020. Some key leaders in the Alliance's organizational structure. Starting with, up at the top, Mr. Carlos Golson, who is the president of Renault and Nissan, Mr. Yamashita, who is a board member, and Mr. Watanabe, who's over zero emissions. Also, Mr. Otani, who's over the global battery. All of these gentlemen bring something to the table that can be leveraged with partnerships and for the Alliance. Now, expanding the EV market can't be done alone. Nissan and Renault cannot do it by themselves. So with the help of 4R, which is a recharging battery, there are 2 main business focuses for that. You can either reuse the battery for other electric vehicles or safely dispose of it. Also with the help of AeroVironment for home charging devices, Better Place and EcoTally for charging stations will further help the Alliance. Moving on to the SWOT analysis. The Alliance is faced with weaknesses and threats, but also has unique strengths and opportunities. Starting with some of the weaknesses. If you would direct your attention over to the screen, expensive battery and their production costs. Threats would be the customer concerns of range anxiety, price and comfort, as my colleague alluded to earlier, and capacity issues. If you would direct your attention over to strength, some of our battery technology expertise, and moving it on to the recyclable battery company, the opportunity of using other forms of battery technology is reasonably expected. And finally, based off of all this information that we have provided to you, Crest Ballet believes that we have ways to sell 1.5 million electric vehicles by 2016, and how the Alliance will make up 20% of the EV market share by 2020. Now, my colleague Omar will tell you about our exciting recommendations.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Now, we as President LA have centered our recommendations around the theme, Mother Nature is great. This meaning that each one of our recommendations will be both eco-friendly and lucrative to the Alliance. We have broken our recommendations into 4 sections. First, we have our revamped targeting and marketing sales campaign. Next, we have new vehicle products and features. Then we'll move on to international expansion and conclude with alternative use of battery technology. Revamped targeting and marketing sales campaign. Our targeted audience includes 3 groups. First, we have Gen Y. Then we move on to the distinguished gentleman. And then next, we have the international customer. All of these groups can be broken down into the 5 audiences that my colleague Taylor alluded to earlier. Like the generation at Y can be broken down into smart greens and also active lifestyle. Also, the distinguished gentleman can also be an informed consumer and an early adapter. Next, the international customer can be an active lifestyle and family-centered as well. Why Generation Y? Because Generation Y will account for $3.7 billion worth of purchases by 2016. They also account for 49% of all purchasing decisions at the moment, and they engage heavily in social media like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Who is the distinguished gentleman? Well, I see plenty of distinguished gentlemen here today. First, he is between the age of 45 to 65. He usually lives in a modern home and usually makes over $90,000 a year. Next, why so much emphasis on the international customer? We as Crestwood have done some predictions, and we see fit that by 2020, China and the European Union will dominate, and their demand for EV vehicles will rise heavily above the American market. Next, we have vehicle landscape. Each one of our vehicles is catered to the 3 audiences that I alluded to earlier. Like the Nissan Aero is catered to Generation Y. Nissan Palladium, I would like that car because I'm a distinguished. Next, we have the Nissan Eucalyptus, which is also catered to the distinguished gentleman. We have the Nissan Willow, who's for Gen Y, and also the Renault Cactus, who's for our international customers. Next, I'll pass it on back to my colleague Rachel to go over the marketing campaign.
Thank you. Our first marketing campaign is called Mother Nature's Vacation. And the idea behind this marketing campaign is about informing the Alliance's customers about zero-emission vehicles and how it really gives Mother Nature a vacation, a well-needed vacation, because it's truly zero emissions. And the way that we plan on targeting this, targeting our audiences and pushing it into the target audiences is by viral campaign, magazines, and online TV and radio. Our next market campaign is Don't Be Scared. And the idea behind this campaign is just letting our audiences know that zero-emission vehicles and regular vehicles work the same way. And our audience don't have to be scared because we won't have you stuck in the middle of the road or in sketchy areas. They perform the same way. And this just addresses the challenges of range anxiety. Our next sales strategy is our lease first buy model and this buy next model. And this really benefits Nissan in 2 ways. It helps them create a customer model, a customer base, and it also helps them charge a higher price at the actual end of the lease. And the way this works is we suggest that customers lease the cars first and buy them later so they're more comfortable with the zero-emission vehicles. But then at the end of the lease, they actually have to pay a higher price. Next, for our sales outlets, we suggest that the Alliance create a virtual Nissan dealership. And the way this works is it benefits customers because it creates a more individual, unique shopping experience. And it benefits the Alliance because they don't have to actually create a real dealership and they don't have to hire employees. And it cuts down on prices that way. And we also suggest that they kind of create a greener dealership that'll also help with our beautifying and giving Mother Nature a break and really going back to our theme that way. And now I'd like to pass it over to Omar with our vehicle amenities.
Thank you so much, Reggie. Now, I'm sure everyone in here is familiar with the show Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Yes, no, think so? No. All right. Well, in that show, they had a butler named Jeffrey. And Jeffrey would do everything for the family: cook, clean, drive. Well, what we said as Crestwell ladies, what if we had Jeffrey in our car? He would be a butler. You would be able to check email, use Google Maps, find the nearest charging station near you. He also will be able to do anything that Google can't do at the moment. Also, this would be a licensing deal where we basically, it's a one-time deal and we just sell Google the inside of our car. Next would be a portable battery, instant battery charger. We need this because our customers have range anxiety. I know I don't like being stuck anywhere, and I hope you guys don't like being stuck anywhere either. So what this would do would address the range anxiety problem and also would help us to gain trust of our customers. This would be our Powertrain Warranty. We want our customers to keep calm and don't be scared. So what we decided is that we would give our customers an 8-year warranty instead of the typical 4-year warranty for 100,000 miles, and it includes the battery. This will address range anxiety and performance. Next will be our international expansion plan. China is a great place to go. It has great food, great culture, but we all know it's hard to get in China with their government relation problems. So what we said is that we will utilize Mr. Otani's former relationship with Donald Fan to create a partnership program. And in this partnership, Donald Fan will in turn get battery technology, and the rest, and we will in turn get into a new Chinese market. Next would be to create smart ZEVs for emerging markets. It's because we need for everyone from every economic stature to get into our car. What will happen is that we'll take the battery out of the car and put it into a compact vehicle and sell it to a customer in an emerging market. Next would be alternative use of battery technology. We will leverage the battery technology of AESC to use that and to create a licensing deal with Boeing to create high-grade and zero-emission planes. Airplanes right now have the most carbon emissions in the air, and the areas surrounding airports have the highest density of cancer. Next would be to explore battery uses for homes. What will happen here is that we will go to the coast and look into earthquake and homes that are damaged by earthquakes and use this to create solar powered and windmill powered homes. There we'll be able to utilize the expertise of Mr. Sakagami, who has previously done this in Japan. Next, I will give it back to my colleague Rachel to go over the financials.
Thank you. All right, most exciting part of the presentation.
Woo!
Yes. So, based off of those awesome recommendations, we have some sales assumptions. So within our sales growth chart, as you can see in 2011, we're only in the United States, the European Union, and the Asia Pacific, but within 2015, once we're in South America, we have 300% growth. And in 2020, we have 100% growth within the Asia, Middle East, and Africa. Then in our sales graph, in 2011, we're not assuming there's going to be very many sales, but within 2020, we have 3.5 million within the Asia Pacific. And then with our price graph, there's a steady decrease. And specifically, I'd like to draw your attention to a lot of very, very low prices within the Middle East and Africa, and that is because there we've implemented our small compact for our recycling program, where we've taken our batteries from the countries and we recycled them and put them in the emerging market countries, and that's why it's so low there. Then with our total revenue, in 2011 we have 169, and with 82% coming from the Asia Pacific and 9% coming from the US and from European Union. Then in 2015 we have 9 billion with 78% coming from the Asia Pacific and 16% coming from the European Union. Then from coming from the European Union and 13% coming from the United States. Now for Nissan's financial statements. Okay, so the EV vehicles are only making up 1% of Nissan's revenue stream at the end of 2011, but by the end of 2015, they're making up 16% as we started implementing our recommendations, and by the end of 2020, there's 32% of the total revenue. And if you look at the cost of goods sold, it's 83% of total revenue, but by the year end of 2015, it's 74%, and that's because our battery technology is getting better. And then as we incorporate our 4R program with the recycling of the batteries and everything, it drops down even further to 70%. And with our selling and general admin, our marketing, 11% of total revenue, then up to 14%. We're incorporating our ideas with Mother Nature, vacation, and all of that. So it's increasing, but we drop back down to 12% as we get better with that, and we stop some of our ideas because we don't know how things are going. Then with our operating income, it's 5% at the year's end of 2011, up to 8% at the year end of 2015, and up to 14% at the year end of 2020. And we calculated the stock price for Nissan's financial statement to be $68.34. Okay, for Renault, their EV vehicles are normally compact and small. They're mostly in the European Union and in the Middle East. Their financial statements are following Nissan's. So with their EV vehicles, it's starting at 1% of total revenue and up to 20% at the year end of 2020. With their selling of general admin, so their marketing, it's at 11%, and then up down to 12% again, so just like Nissan's, like I was saying. And then for their operating income, we're at 1% at the year end of 2011, and then up to 14% at the year end of 2020. And we have their stock price at being $36.65 at the year end of 2020. Now for our implementation plan. Our implementation plan is a multi-stage rollout of international markets. Initial sales of vehicles will consist of leases versus actual vehicles being sold. We'll have an evolution of improvement of charging stations and an expansion of charging stations in frequently traveled areas like malls. Okay, so like my colleague Omar was telling you, we have our vehicles being rolled out every 2 years for specific target markets. And then our international expansion in 2012 we'll have a formation of partnership at Dongfeng, that's our Chinese market. Then with our vehicle amenities, we'll have our Jeffrey Google dashboard in 2015. With our marketing campaign, sales, and implementation, we'll have our lease first, buy next model in 2012. And then our Don't Be Scared will be in 2014. With our charging station expansion, we have our 2012 Eco-Tality charging station location mapping. That's our charging station partnership, and with that, we just hope to help them with their location station mapping and letting them know where we're really selling our EV vehicles and where they really need to be putting their charging stations so that we can reach our goal of 19,000 charging stations in the U.S. by 2014. With our battery technology and other improvement implementation plans, we hope to have our green dealerships up by 2015 and our battery usage in homes to 15-minute full charging by 2019. For our contingency plans, if we can't do all of our recommendations, we hope to build only one production plant in Nigeria, delay build out of green dealerships, and to forego partnerships with Google and go with MSN instead. In conclusion, Crest Valley feels as if these prolific strategies and solutions addresses the dilemmas that the Alliance is facing, and that we are currently, that the Alliance is facing, and we turn to zero-emission vehicles into a market attraction and brand strength. And now the floor is open for questions and answers.
Thank you. That was a good presentation. Now you'll have 10 minutes for questions and answers. Sorry. And we'll let you know. That's my clock. Okay. So you would have heard that if they went overtime. So you didn't, so thank you. Now you'll have 10 minutes for your Q&A, and I'll let you know when you have 3 minutes and 1 minute. Thank you.
Mr. CEO. Thank you. Very good presentation. Very good. Your marketing plan was believable. I like the idea about the portable battery and the focus on Mother Nature. But that's a lot of effort for only gaining 10% of a market. So wouldn't it be better to tell your client to just partner with an oil company and just stay with conventional fuel and not go down this path?
So your question is, wouldn't it be better to tell our customers to go with oil?
Really, would it be advisable just tell them, this is a lot of work for 10% market share. Let's just kind of stay the course and not go down this path.
Right. Well, we believe in being green, first of all. So we want to improve our planet and give Mother Nature a break, like I said before. So we think that our customers would like to do that as well. So that is the answer.
Thank you. Good answer.
I noticed you did a nice presentation and enjoyed it, great graphics and the facts. My question is on the sales projections in Asia. How much of that is reliant upon the Chinese market, and what's the backup plan in the event that you can't close the deal and get into China?
So your question is how much of our projections are based on just China, and what is our backup plan if our deal doesn't go through with Dongfeng?
Correct. I'm looking at 3.5 million units, dwarfing all other markets by 2020. So that's a pretty big reliance on one entity.
Right. If you go to, I think it's page 34. Yeah, it's our international customers. Okay, it's after that. Yeah, we tried to break it down like geographically and like which countries and everything. We didn't break it down in our financial stuff, but we're pretty confident that we can go in since we do have leverage with Mr. Osnani and with Dongfeng. And the way that partnership will work is that since Dongfeng is such a popular Chinese car brand and Nissan doesn't have any cars being sold in that actual market right now, what we're going to do is we're going to sell our cars we're going to sell our cars with Dongfeng, and we're giving him our technology, and they're Dongfeng's cars with Nissan's technology. So we think what I'm trying to say is we're pretty sure that the deal will go through since we've already had our expertise working under Dongfeng's leadership. He's already worked with him, and we're not actually selling it under our brand name, and so we don't have it separated in our financials. But that's how the percentage of how much is China and how much is Japan. But did that answer your question, sir?
It's still, if the deal doesn't go through, it seems like it would put a big hole in the financing and the profits. That's my only line. So, it seems like a big assumption. That's all.
Right.
Also, I might add, China has recently said that they want 1 million TVs in their country by 2015. And we see this as a very aggressive maneuver by China, so we believe that we had more than enough leverage to get to China.
Again, let me also kind of congratulate you guys on a great job. I'm going to go back to something Jesse said earlier about the portable charger. That may, at least in my mind, be a significant differentiation point. Is that current technology out there today?
Yeah.
So we're talking about a part of your investment being involved in R&D type of work to bring that technology forward?
Yes, sir.
Is that included in your financials?
I believe so, sir.
The portable charger is rolled out in 2016, sir.
Okay, but since it is not a technology that's there today, are any of your expense projections involved in R&D of advancing the technology?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Also, I like the separation of the target groups, Gen Y, an extinguished gentleman like me since I'm an old guy, and kind of the international breakouts. Did you guys do any unit forecasting by those three target groups to kind of understand what unit sales would be by those target groups?
So your question is, have you done any target unit sales?
Yeah, do you expect a sale of your total units to be sold? Did you break them out by those target groups?
To answer your question, no, we have not. But I would definitely want to give that to our research team and get back to you.
I think you talked about, and you may not have used the terminology, the threats. I think you talked about tax incentives, the fact that the consumer might be afraid because of the distance and the lack of charging stations. From a marketing standpoint, or even just from an operating standpoint, do you see the tax incentives that are being provided as a threat or an opportunity? And if they would go away, at what point would you have to kind of change your approach or your strategy to your plan? And that's more of a U.S. question.
A U.S. question?
Right.
So your question is, do you see the tax incentives as a threat or more of an opportunity?
Right.
Well, as of right now, we see it as an opportunity and a threat because of the fact that it expires in 4 years. It gives the customer ranking back. So right now, currently, it can be seen as an opportunity, but in the future, in the near future, it could be a threat as well.
I like the fact that you all addressed the issue of what to do with the old batteries in terms of recycling them into vehicles and emerging markets. One of the things I also thought was intriguing is the 8-year, 100,000-mile warranty on the battery as well. What is the expected life of a battery, both in the U.S. vehicle and then when it goes to emerging markets? And is that a liability, having that 8-year warranty on the battery? Because it seems like that's a very expensive piece of equipment. So 2 questions. What's the average life of a battery? And then do you expect there to be a cost drag from the warranty of those batteries?
So your question is, what is the average life of a battery before we recycle it?
Both before and after?
And after.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so the average life of a battery after we recycle it is about 7 years. But before we recycle it, it's about 9-ish years, 10-ish years. So the 8-year warranty it's a strategy to just make our customers feel comfortable. But in our implementation plan, we plan on being less aggressive with it around 2015 because by then we think our customers will be more comfortable with the vehicle to where we won't really need to use it anymore.
And also, to answer your question, it is still the early stages of the battery technology, but the battery technology is growing fast and approachingly. So we see that the battery technology will get better over time, and we're assuming that it will get better in the near future.
Thank you.
You talked about a potential threat is the potential reduction in gas prices, and I assume that has to do with some production capabilities here in the U.S. On page 13 in your deck, on the other hand, though, you show a fairly significant rise in and I'm assuming those are retail prices of gasoline at the pump prices. How did you come up with the slope of that curve from, if you don't mind, from 283 to 438 when at the end of the day production seems to be at an all-time high here in the U.S.? Gas prices tend to be going down, yet that chart seems to be in stark contrast to what's actually happening. Well, is the chart consistent with the threat? Because you show them rising here, yet on the threat chart, you show them potentially going lower.
Oh, so your question is, where is our platform, or is your question?
You got saved by the bell.